Well, hey friends, this is Heather from Metal Dog Tarot, and I'm going to give all of you creative people a little advice reading here about what to do this week, how to go about your art, how to go about your world building and your mutual aid societies, and you're making the soil alive again and connecting with your neighbors or whatever it is that you're doing in your creative way. What my sweetheart calls the living critique, whatever that is. I'd love to know about that if you want to comment in the comments about what you do. And I read a lot of great, amazing stuff here on Substack. So yeah, let me know. All right, so I'm going to pull a card for what the reading is about, with the focus of you creative folks in mind, and then we'll look at underlying energies. We'll have a baseline. We'll clarify. We'll get into it. Let's see what happens. Okay. This reading is about communication and action. The sunbeams coming out from behind the person here. Their brain is quite broken up into nations. Different regions of the brain. So I feel like there's like the separation, and then there's also the sun authenticity, like knowing who you are, knowing what your art is, what you draw on in your experience, and then this is the place from which you take action and from which you communicate in whatever way you communicate. So that's cool. What's going on underneath here? A few things here. Wow. All right, got some power and some pain here underneath. I do notice that my videos often have a lot of looking at my hair while I look at the cards, but yeah, so just listen if you don't want to look at my hair. All right, there's a very painful Three of Swords. This is betrayal. It's pain, and I think art, creativity comes from pain. We see the mind represented by the swords, and this is a swords card, is piercing the heart, which feels tied up in knots. And you can see like my eyeball and this eyeball. So you can see there's like consciousness coming from this wounded heart, but it's like a trap, a net, like it's tied up in these thoughts. It has trying to see what these, like there's like, it's looking at these shapes, like leaves or fire. I bet it's supposed to be fire. Yeah, there's like a lot of passion and heart in what you're doing, and then your mind's kind of like at odds with you. And I think for people coming on to Substack and trying to be brave enough to put your ideas out into the public world. And my aunt recently asked me about this and how to be brave enough to put things up. And my answer is, well, nobody reads it. Hardly anybody's going to see it. So there's like this feeling of anonymity, but it's not true that's not 100% true. People do come read it. They do come see it. And the people that come and come back benefit from that. And so that's like this encouragement to take action, to communicate, to do it, to put it out there, to share it. Like we're all feeling, I don't know, there's a lot of isolation and loneliness in our world. And so to be tied up in our heads and too afraid of hurt, of our beautiful gift that, we've protected our lives. That like in some cases, we're the only person that believed in ourselves. And to like put that out there like that. How do we do that? How do we risk that when our brain's like stabbing us and tying us up in knots, right? So I think a little bit about that. Then we have like some real images of power and wealth, and I've written on this Emperor cards. So as I'm learning the tarot, but this is the being the leader of your life energy. Again, we can see the sun coming out like in our Eight of Wands. He's a card of Aries. You can see the rams here. And what he does is he takes raw Empress energy, magician energy, all these early cards in the tarot, the High Priestess, magic, the divine, the cosmic, earth, abundance. And the Emperor, he can be a bad guy when you're like an anti-capitalist. But if you think about the Emperor as giving you structure, it's like, here's my plan, here's how I'm going to put it out there, and we can find sometimes like a little bit of support from when our mind's attacking us like this, when we just are like, I don't care, every Monday I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be the leader of my life. I'm going to, this, a friend of mine used to say, you only get one life. This isn't a dress rehearsal. And so what is that? It's like a little bit of provocation to take risks, and worst thing is going to happen is you're going to die, and you're going to die anyway. And so, die having tried, die having risked. Rejection has never killed me. And, I think being ignored can be worse than rejection for me. Being boring. And there's just like so many things to pay attention to when you share your stuff and when you have ideas and you come into communities with your ideas. Just remember, like, everybody's feeling like they're full of ideas and they're full of art and they're full of stories. And so there's a giving and then there's a taking of attention in this attention economy. And so I just really, really love looking at everybody's stuff here on Substack and on YouTube, although I watch tarot on YouTube and some news. So I'm so grateful for the generosity and of the people that like regularly put out. And there's things that I read in my little bed with my cat and my cup of coffee in the morning that bring me to tears. And, Chloe Hope, Death and Birds, like, she doesn't have time to watch this or read my things, but what she writes weekly transforms me. And so what you're doing, you never know. I guess I'm giving you a pep talk, apparently. And then the other underlying energy here is it's very much about wealth. And this is a 10 of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles can, in other images, be very connective, very earthy. And maybe when we look at the baseline reading, we'll get more images of that. I mean, I do see these peacocks, but this feels so much about the way that this space on Substack or social media in general can be so much about making money and getting paid subscribers. So there's, and as I'm looking at this guy, he's kind of looking at this tragic heart, so like these sort of expectations out there. So I feel like you might need a little bit of help with the norms and values that are often expressed in this space. Okay, so let's ask. We're going to get some advice, and I have other types of readings that I like, but I really like this basic advice reading, and I do it all the time for myself and friends. So, let's see. What does the tarot want us to release, embrace, review? What's hidden from us that the tarot wants us to know, and what is the future? We're going to pull 5 cards, and then I'll clarify. Okay. What we ought to release. The Knight of Air. You can really see this little Knight of Air releasing this bird of prey, this idea. To me, that's like, put your idea out there. Sometimes a release is like, quit doing that, quit being a Knight of Air. But I really see this as encouragement to put your ideas out there. And set them free. In a way, they're like, you're just the steward of this entity. You're just the friend of your idea or of your art. And so release that. You're just a channel. And it very much like as a writer, the characters, they want out. They want to be read. They want to be known. And that is something I've heard other writers say. And I'm not a visual artist, and sometimes it feels like the tarot itself, like these decks, they want to talk to you. Okay. How about what you should embrace? The 10 of air. Okay. This is definitely more of that 3 of swords feeling. The 10 of air is an ending. It is, you are nailed 10 times to this tree. There's 10 nails. Oh, her wings have been removed. Wow, and she's nailed to the tree too. We've got those rose petals all around her. You can see her wings here, a red hand. It's almost like somebody did this. So something's over. And there's things blooming here too. 10 roses. Yeah. There's a really painful thing that you need to embrace. That something is over. And so this makes me think about whatever in your personal life that you're coming to terms with. There's some idea that suffering is like a source of creative insight, and I don't think that's always true, but I think it can be. Yeah, and it's almost too like this is like, if I think of this as art, like she is her art. Like this looks like performance art to me. It's very dark. This artist who made this tarot deck has interpreted the 10 of swords. The 10 of swords is traditionally like a body stabbed 10 times and then the sun's coming up. It's like, this is over. And it's the paradigm. So thinking in terms of the big collective global collapse or the collapse of America or whatever, like, is that happening? Do we need to like start growing food in our own yards because the supply chain, like all that kind of collapse? That could be what this is about. Sort of the fall of this emperor structural power as we know it, capitalism. That feels like very mind and heart at odds here. So that needs to be embraced, but it's also really producing like performance art here. Like art is coming right out of, or it is the answer to suffering, to what's wrong. And like to be dramatic right now is proper. Like this is a time for artists and creatives. And the part of my dad keeps talking about how artificial intelligence is silly because what it's doing is it's taking the left side of our brain with the tools, the toolbox. It's like, here's your paintbrushes, here's your hammer, here's your typewriter, your printer, or your Substack platform. Like these are your tools. And that's what that side of our brain is, the math, the practical, the plan. It's very emperor energy. And that's what AI does. It processes information and it translates it into, a very easily accessible format. But there's no genius. There's no right side of your brain that the people of the left hand, the artists, and like we're accessing our right side of our brain, which is all the creative genius of world building and things that haven't happened and things that haven't been thought about. And so I don't remember why I started talking about that. I just really love this idea that we artists and creatives and world builders and our vision and our new fresh ideas, or even like recovering of old traditions, like this is what we need. We don't need Wikipedia. That's a great tool, but it isn't the genius. It's not, we all listen to music, we are engaged in beauty and awe, and like, I'm moved every day by creation. Like, I don't know. I find it quite easy to believe that moving away from like building that part of ourselves into just being machines and like buying into that, I'd say now the paradigm of the mechanistic worldview, that's what is dead. That's a paradigm here. And to give this up is currently not painful for me. So yes, release your art into the world because you must accept whatever it was. It's not working for us anymore. Okay. Review. The review is a Two of Earth. How beautiful. This is balance. It's like you want to remember when you were out in your garden and you're out in the forest and you were inspired by all creation. You just felt so grounded on the earth and so good. I mean, we're like walking around in this ecosystem. We don't really even fathom its intelligence. I think there's so much happening that we haven't been able to understand because of that old paradigm of it's a machine and we can recreate it. And so wonder, groundedness, or you like participating in creativity and creation yourself. Like I think about Heidegger, the question concerning technology, and he talks about nature as like blooming and bursting forth, and that what humans end up doing is like labeling all of that as something to be exploited, as that's standing in reserve, waiting for us to challenge it forth, so we can make meaningless crap out of it, like prestige and power, the materialism of our culture, that it's really doesn't seem to benefit most of us. It seems to make us feel like this, like I can't, my head's killing me. My head is stabbing my heart. Okay, what the tarot wants you to know, this is the same card as this. This is the reason for this reading, and you get it again here. And the tarot says, you don't know this. Okay, remember that idea that you're supposed to release this big bird? Well, now you, my little fairy, are riding that big bird into the future. This is destiny. Look at you, and you're not alone. There's other artists and other visions, and there's Martian energy. There's like huge willpower and creativity. That's Wands energy. It's fire in us. And this is a very powerful thing that you are releasing into the world. And you just don't always get to know who you're affecting. So that's what the tarot wants you to know. And I love that for you. And I love that for me too. Okay. Wow. And in the future, we see the Council of Monarchs. Do you know what this card is? In this deck, it's the Emperor. Ooh, I get chills because this is a revised power structure. They've got the swords and the cups and the pentacle and the wands. The wand. And these are the wise fairies running the world. It's a council, not a king. And the fairies are all they appear to be female, all of them in this deck, but I like to think of them as perhaps non-binary with a lot of femininity. Yeah, it feels like a matriarchal future, and it feels like a collective process, like that mutual aid in your neighborhood. Everybody brings their tool and shares their tool. The different crafts of the artists, the writers, and the sculptors, and the potters, and the painters, and the photographers, and the musicians, and the singers, the people who are on stage performing or in film or behind the camera, all of that collective of creatives, we see them as the Emperor in the future. Wow, that's this guy. Remember? That makes me want to cry. What does this say? Father, protective, decisive, stable. reconnect to the part of you that stands strong. You have clarity of mind. You lead into action. You're a leader in action and in decision making, which is very much this energy. So if we've replaced that guy with these fairies, beautiful. That's our future here. Okay, underlying energy is, I'm looking at the time. Don't want to take up too much of your time here. Okay. Healing and wish fulfillment, the star. Again, I see her out in the forest. She's growing tulips, very springy. It's like if you're wondering about time frames. Yeah, that's a very simple card of healing and wish fulfillment. And we get a paradigm shift, the Chariot. I'm sorry, not the Chariot's the next card. The Six of Air, where you become willing to cross those waters of your emotional waters. Look, she's got those black wings, which you may recall were nailed to this tree. So here she is sitting on those wings. Like she could put those back on again, or is it a crow? I don't see the head of the crow, so I'm always like a little bothered by that image. Okay. And then we get the Chariot, a lot of momentum, a lot of fire and power. I can just see her flying across this wintry landscape with her fire. It's like some movement here. And then there's more. There's a Three of Fire. You've envisioned something. There's a lot of fire. And fire is creativity. It's wands are art, creativity. It's like your art is just taking off here. And something that you envisioned is happening. Then when a Three of Air is like you're waiting for that to come in. I've got two more cards, and they're in sync with this. So there's Justice, really cool card with a snake, the two doors. She's got Truth, these swords. She appears to be a priestess. These are crow feathers, so it again may make you think of all these black wings. We've seen them nailed to the tree. That's in our embrace for today. We've seen you ready to ride these into a new paradigm, a vision coming in. Those same black wings are lifting you towards that. And then we finally get the Knight of Fire with the snake, a very transformative figure. The snake, again, fire, art, creativity. I'm looking for the snake. Oh yeah, we just saw the snake here in Justice. So now she's got it. It's changed. The snake has turned, or is a different snake. It's up to you how you want to read that. Wow. I'm a little bit overwhelmed by how much we've got going on here, but I love this future. I love the future of the Council of Monarchs and that shift from that old emperor to this Council of Monarchs at this deck that just wanted to talk to us today. It feels to me as I look at these cards, and I'm not going to pull any more cards because I don't think I need to clarify this message. The message is, release your art, your vision, your world building, whatever you're creating here. It could be very practical. Like I read Substacks on here about how to bring my soil back to life, how to plant just a little tiny garden to contribute to the larger needs in my community or just to my household food source. Like I hear all the time from people here on Substack about this kind of like being a part of creation. And if this reading is saying that matters, like as this old paradigm comes down, we make art of it. We make a new world of it. And power looks different when we value what we can create. I love this reading, And I hope it inspires you to go out and put your writing up and share it all around. And if you wanted to talk about that in the comments and share a link to your Substack for other people coming to this reading, I would love that. I will check your Substacks out. And yeah, good luck creating. All right, have a beautiful day.